Well, the Gospel of Mark, if you've ever read it, is a gospel on the move. Jesus is always headed somewhere. He is always getting ready to perform some miracle or to teach some crowd. He is always giving sight to the blind, getting those who are lame up and walking for the first time in their life, freeing those who are bound by demons and other things as well. It is a gospel that shows us that Jesus lives and acts and works and ministers not just in a material world, but in a physical and spiritual world as well. The story that we have for us today in our scripture may be one of the most significant and profound and powerful encounters in all of Jesus' ministry, as he delivers a man who is not just possessed by a demon, but rather demons. The story unfolds as Jesus makes his way across the Sea of Galilee. You know that scripture well, because that is where a storm comes on the Sea of Galilee. Jesus is asleep in the bow of the boat, and the disciples think that they are about to die. They wake him, and Jesus calms the storm with a single word. And then they continue making their way across the Sea of Galilee. When the bow of the boat hits the rocky shoreline, it is only Jesus that jumps out of the boat. It is only Jesus that steps onto dry ground, because this is a place that is thrice forbidden for all Jews for three reasons. Number one, it is a place of the Gentile territory. And no good Jew would ever go into a Gentile territory which was considered to be unclean. Secondly, this is a demon-possessed man. As Jesus steps out, they hear the wails, they hear the cries, they hear the howls in the darkness of the night. And it's in those moments that they know they are not to go near a demon, because they don't want to become demon-possessed as well. And third, and perhaps even more eerily, is this: that when Jesus steps out, he steps into a cemetery. You got to understand that in Jesus' day, Jews had problems with tombs. The only time you went to a cemetery, the only time you visited a tomb, was when somebody had died. And so to get out and to get in that would be in a place that is unclean. And so as Jesus jumps out of the boat and he turns back, he sees all 12 disciples staying right where they're seated in the boat itself. And it's in that moment that he realizes that he is headed on in this journey by himself. When he steps out, the demoniac or the demon-possessed man immediately engages Jesus. Now you need to understand something about this area of Palestine, that it was not uncommon to have demon-possessed individuals. Why? Well, because demons were worshipped. And many mothers and fathers dedicated their children to the devil. And so demon possession was widespread and more common than in any other place throughout all of Israel and the Middle East at that time. And so when Jesus encounters this demon-possessed man, he immediately calls out to who Jesus is. And he is not a pretty sight. In fact, he is grotesque and gruesome. The townspeople had driven him out and had tied him up in the cemetery so that they would be able to confine him. But he was so strong that he broke those ropes, so that then they began to bind him with chains. And each time he broke those chains, it broke the skin. It caused scars. And so there is scar tissue upon scar tissue around his arms, around his legs, around his hands, and around his feet. But more than that, the demon possession takes him, that when he is free, he takes rocks and he begins to disfigure himself and to cut himself. And as Jesus looks upon him, he sees open sores and wounds, blood and pus covering this man's body from foot to head and all the way back down. He is a gruesome and grotesque sight, to say the least. Now, for most of us, our exposure to demon possession has only been through the lens of Hollywood. That of The Exorcist, where we see demon possession floating a body above a bed, or Carrie, as we see a head that does a 360 turn. But this was a sight that Jesus saw, and it must have even taken him aback to see all of the suffering and all of the pain and all of the self-inflicted wounds. on this man. Demon possession. He sees it firsthand. And the question becomes, what does all of this mean? Possession is a demon who is taking possession of that which rightfully belongs to God. I'd like to invite you to pull out your outline and to fill in the blanks as we work our way through. This very well may be a subject that you have not encountered before or have had limited exposure to. I'd like to encourage you to take notes, that it may be a guide for further study this week and through your own prayer life and devotional life this week. You see, one of the things that you have to understand is this: you were bought with a price. You are not your own, that you belong to God. And so the demon's goal is to get you away from God, to tear you away from that identity, to steer you in a different path and in a different direction as well. Possession can happen in many forms, and it can include many different things. It can be an entire possession of an entire person's heart and mind and body, or it could be only in a certain area of your life. Perhaps it's something in your life or in your heart or in your mind that you have yet to surrender to God, but it is something where God has no control and where you are possessed, and that is taking control of that area of your life. Now, the Bible tells us that possession is a part of this spiritual world, but it also tells us that you got to name those demons in your life. That when you begin to lay claim to what is laying hold of you, when you begin to name that demon that is laying grip to your life, that is determining not only who you are, but the path you walk, how you think, how you treat others, you got to name that demon, because when you name that demon, it loosens its grip upon your life. And so I want to ask you a question this morning. We need a little feedback, a little talk back this morning. What are some of the demons that people struggle with? What are some of the things that people are possessed by in our world today? Let me hear it. Addiction, drugs, money, weed, status, lust, all types of things. And we could go on and on with that, because literally there are thousands of things that literally are trying to lay grip and hold of the millions upon millions of people that are living in this world. And we need to be able to name that so that we can begin to loosen its power and we can begin to limit its grip upon our heart and on our mind. So what are the things that we learn from this scripture passage today about demons and about winning that battle of the heart and mind? Number one, demons are always looking for a doorway into your life. You see, a doorway is something that is displeasing to God. Maybe it's fear or maybe it's pride. Maybe it's stress or anger or whatever. But whenever that attitude, whenever those actions, whenever those thoughts begin to enter your life, that's a crack. That's a doorway that is just ajar enough for the demon to try to get a toehold in your life. You see, possession never begins with full-out possession. It always begins small, does it not? You see, we all have those manic moments where we just go crazy mentally or physically, where we say something or we do something, and when we get past that moment, we look back on that and we say, how could I have said that? How could I have done that? That's not who I am. That's not who I understand myself to be. We've all had those moments where we kind of lose it, but at the same time we recognize that's not who we are. And it always starts out small. You know, we always say, well, it's just one drink, or it's just one toke, or it's just one lottery ticket, or it's just one hand at the casino, or it's just one more click on the computer. And we're all use that phrase at one time or another. It's just one last time. Number two, there is power in demon possession. You see, don't underestimate the power of possession in your life. In fact, in our gospel lesson this morning, the Bible describes this man who is possessed, that he has superhuman strength, that he has the strength of not one, not five, but 10 men. And everything that was binding him from ropes to chains was not enough because he was so strong. And anyone that's been in the grips of addiction, no matter what it is, can testify to how powerful that addiction is in your life. Don't underestimate the power of possession. It can overwhelm you. And here's the thing. You can't go to Barnes & Noble to the self-help section to get yourself free. You can't fight this battle yourself. This power is over you. This power is beyond you. And you need help. You need spiritual help if you're going to be delivered. Number 3. Demons seek to cut us off from community. You see, this is how they maintain their power over us. Because you are always much more vulnerable. You are always much more weaker when there is one who is seeking to separate you from community. Because you're a whole lot easier to control when you're alone. You see, this demon-possessed man, he didn't live in town. In fact, he had been excommunicated. He had been pushed out of town and told that he should stay in the cemetery. And he was bound to that cemetery. And that's the power of addiction and possession in our lives. It always creates division. You see, when we are in the grips of possession and when we are in the midst of being possessed by another, that always causes division. It may be division or separation from your loved ones. It might be your behavior and your actions drives other people away. It might be the damage that you're doing to yourself, and other people don't want to be caught in the whirlpool of that possession itself. But this is one of the things that the devil is so adept at doing, is he wants to get you separated. He wants to divide you from your support system. And who is your support system? It's your family. It's your loved ones. It's your spouse. It's your children. But it's also the people of God. It is the body of Christ. It is the family of God. You see, if you've ever watched Animal Planet, you know that whenever there is a hunt, no matter what the prey is, anytime one is separated from the herd or from the flock, they are ripe for the pickings. And the same is true for you and for me. Demons cut us off from one another. And you and I, we need to stop falling into this mentality of I can do this on my own. I don't need anybody else. That this faith journey is private. You and I need to realize that we need one another. We need to claim a herd mentality. We need to be a flock that never separates from one another, because there is a battle going on, and if you get away, and I want you to look around this morning, because I know that you got some people that normally sit either in front of you or in back of you, to your left or to your right, that aren't here today. And maybe some of them haven't been here for 1 or 2 or 3 weeks. If we got a herd mentality, that means the very first thing that you're going to do this morning is you're going to call that person up and say, how you doing? Missed you today. It's going to rain for the parades. You didn't need to go to the parades. Why weren't you in church today? I want to know if everything's all right. We need one another, and we need the protection and the spiritual guidance of one another. Number 4. Notice that the demons recognize who Jesus is. You see, part of the purpose of this series is to get you to change your worldview. That the world is not just about that which can be proven through science. It is not just the material, that which you can touch, or you can see, or you can smell. But it is a spiritual world as well. And the demons know this, because the moment that Jesus steps out of that boat and onto their territory, they immediately address who Jesus is. And not only do they say, hey, what's up? But they say, call him by name. His name is Yeshua, which means, say it with me, the Lord's deliverer. This is Jesus. They know exactly who he is, and they know what he is about because they know his name. And here's the other thing that they know. They are out of their league. They know that Jesus has greater power than they do. And so what do they try to do? They try to negotiate with Jesus. You see, their biggest fear is that Jesus would destroy them. But instead, what they try to do is negotiate. Jesus, if you're going to deliver me, then want you to take these demons and send them into, now the word that the gospel used in our reading today was swine or pigs. But that really means boars, and this is why it's significant. Because every good Jew in Jesus' day knew boars are great swimmers. So to send them into the Sea of Galilee and to watch all of them drown is a profound statement about the power of Jesus to defeat evil itself. But here's the other thing that we learn from this. The evil one always has a backup plan. You see, the first plan was when Jesus and the disciples were headed across the Sea of Galilee, and the storm came down and was threatening to sink the boat and was threatening to drown all of the disciples. And in one word, or two words, Jesus looks at that storm, and you remember what he said? Be still. And that storm is diminished. You see, that storm was meant to get the disciples to turn back, and the disciples wanted to do just that. And it was the evil one who was trying to get Jesus to turn back so that Jesus, Yeshua, the Lord's deliverer, would not come into their territory. But Jesus calms that storm. He has greater power over everything that the evil one can send his way. And so when he steps onto that shoreline, suddenly, what does the demons do? They negotiate with Jesus to go into the boars. Now, here's why this is important. Because this was a herd of 2,000 boars, and everybody in that town, their local economy would have been based on that herd of boars. So when the demons go into them and they immediately kill those boars and they are drowned, it's in that moment that the entire economy is run into the ground. It's a complete shambles. You see, if you want to see people up in arms, start messing with their income. Start messing with their weekly paycheck. You see, the evil one is sending them, those boars, into the ocean to drown them, to wreck the economy. Why? Because who's going to get blamed for that? Not the evil one, not the demons, but Jesus, who sent those demons into the boars, thus turning the locals against Jesus. And here's the most amazing thing of all. The townspeople hear what happened, and they come out and they go to Jesus, and they see this man they knew, this man that they had banished. Now he is cleaned up, he's got a haircut, he's got clean clothes on, his wounds are healed, and he is seated at the feet of Jesus, which is the traditional posture of a disciple. And what are they up in arms about? Not about the one who just got healed, not about the one that was made whole, but they lost 2,000 boars. I mean, they just saw the miracle upon miracles. The one who had been banished, the one who was so out of control that even chains couldn't hold him, and yet now he is free, now he is made whole, and he doesn't matter a lick compared to their own personal wealth that's been taken away from them. This is how a sin-filled world often looks. It's about themselves. There are three things that we hear in this gospel about the good news of Jesus Christ. Number one, Jesus has the power to overcome any demon or any possession. Now listen, the demoniac was chained in that cemetery, and he was wailing and he was screaming night and day, and nothing could hold him back, not even the chains that he was able to break in the strength of 10 men. But then he encounters Jesus, and he is rescued and he is restored, and the word gets out. Now, when the townspeople come, I hope you heard clearly what the Gospel of Mark says, that they see this man seated at the feet of Jesus in clean clothes, cleaned up, and listening to Jesus, learning from Jesus. And the Gospel of Mark says this: he was in his right mind. You see, this man hadn't been in his right mind in years, if not decades. But you see, Jesus just doesn't heal the physical wounds. Jesus heals the spiritual wounds, and Jesus heals the mental wounds. Jesus wants healing and wholeness over every area of your life. He's not just concerned about physically healing you. He wants you healing and wholeness in every aspect, in every moment, and in every part of your life. You see, this man has not only been rescued, but here's the second thing that we learned. He has been restored for a purpose. Now, you've heard me say it before, and I'm going to say it again. God never delivers us from. God always delivers us to. That God never heals you from something. God always heals you for a purpose. And it's never so that we feel better. It's never so that we can have a normal life. It's so that we can participate and be used by God. You see, now here's the thing. When this man is healed and he is seated at the feet of Jesus, what's the one thing that he asked Jesus if he can do? Jesus, let me follow you. Let me serve you all the rest of the days of my life. And for good reason as well, because here's the thing, that this man knows that his life has been forever changed, and there's absolutely no way that he could ever repay Jesus unless he gives all of himself to Jesus and serves Jesus. But what does Jesus do? Jesus doesn't say, hey, come on, get in the boat. No, Jesus says, turn around, go back to the town, and you tell everyone what the Lord has done for you. Now get the image here, brothers and sisters, because here's the thing. That this man who was so despised, this man who was gruesome at sight, this man who was out of his mind, now becomes the very first missionary to the Gentiles in the Palestinian and Gentile territory. And if that's not enough, when fast forward 4 months later, when Jesus returns to the area to do his ministry, he then begins to teach, and the Gospels tell us that there were more than 4,000 that showed up. Because Jesus had a feeding of the 5,000, but he also had a feeding of the 4,000, and that happens in this very place where Jesus delivered the demoniac and freed him and healed him in that moment. Now let me remind you that the Bible was written in patriarchal times, and so when they did counts, they only counted men. So when we're talking about 4,000 people that had gathered, it was 4,000 men and their families. So you can well imagine that there may have been 8,000 or 12,000 or 16,000 people, all because of one individual. All because of one man sharing his story of what God had done in him. Now here's the good news for you today. Jesus can rescue and restore you from any and everything that is laying grip to your lives. Now here's the thing. Jesus said this, I have come that they may have life and have it what? To the fullest. A full life, a whole life, a healthy life. And if Jesus can restore the demoniac and send out 6,000 demons, then Jesus can restore you. What's the name of the demons? Did you pick it up in the scriptures? Their name is Legion. Now, Legion was the name of a set of troops of Rome. It was a numerical number, and it means 6,000 soldiers. So when these demons say that their name is Legion, most biblical scholars understand this man wasn't possessed by one demon. He wasn't possessed by 6 demons or even 600 demons. He was possessed by 6,000 demons, and even Jesus can overcome 6,000 demons. And if Jesus can overcome 6,000 demons in one individual, Jesus has the power to deliver and to overcome whatever is laying hold to your life. Amen? You see, there is power in possession, but Jesus has even greater power. Now, here's the thing. The demons know at the moment that they see Jesus that they're beat. They know that they don't have a chance. And they begin to say, Jesus, save us, send us out into someone else. And here's the thing, the key for you and me. Whatever is laying grip to your life, whatever you are struggling with, whatever has possession of you that is not of God, you got to first give it over to God. You got to name it, you got to claim it, and then you got to call on Jesus, Yeshua, the deliverer, the Lord who rescues, to deliver you as well. Now here's the thing. This demon-possessed man, even after those 6,000 demons are delivered out of him, is still possessed. But this time, he's possessed by Jesus. This time, he's got a new power that is in his life. He has a new power that has laid claim to his heart and mind. He has a new purpose, and all of his time, and all of his talents, and all of his treasures, now in the name of Jesus, are driving not only who he is, but where he is, what he says, what he thinks, and what he does for the rest of his life. And brothers and sisters, I don't know about you, but I want to be possessed by Jesus. I want Jesus to guide every thought that I have. I want Jesus to guide every step that I take. I want Jesus to guide every word that proceeds from my mouth as if it came from the mouth of the Lord. Do you want to be possessed by Jesus? The choice is yours here today. Because something is going to guide your life. Something or someone is going to lay hold of your life, but you got to make the choice. And let me tell you something. There is no hole that you can dig so deep that God's hand can't reach down to pull you out. There is no path that you can walk and run so far away from God that he can't pull you back in. There is no damage or no word that you can do that is so great that God's healing can't come upon your life. God's power is available to you today. And what laid claim and sent those demons out of the demoniac, that very same power, the power of the cross, is available to you today. But our challenge and your work this morning is, you got to name it. You got to name what lays claim to you. You got to claim it, and you got to give it over to God and ask God to deliver you. So as we close this morning, this message, I want you to go to God in prayer as Committed begins to play. And I want you to begin to pray to God and ask him. If you can't name what that is, let God name it for you. Let him speak to you. But you got to name it, you got to claim it, and then you got to call on the power of Yeshua, the Lord delivers, this day. We'd like to invite you, if you would like to come and to kneel at the prayer rails today, you can do so. Or if you would like to stay in your own pews and just pray from there, let us go to Almighty God and ask for his deliverance this day.